In this video, we're going to look at the surface area of cones. And there's two different types specifically. We're going to look at the lateral surface area, which is this area that's shaded in yellow. And then we're also going to look at total surface area, where total surface area is the area shaded in yellow and the circular base that you see right here on the top. So we're going to start with lateral surface area. Notice our formula for LSA, our lateral surface area, is pi times r times L. And we're going to go ahead and talk about what those things are. R is just your radius. And that can be found by going from the center of the shape over to the edge on its circular base. So I'm going to fill this in, radius. And when it comes to L, L is the slant height. And the slant height is going to be this area right here, this value. So from the highest point on it, the tip, all the way down to its circular base. That's going to be L. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and substitute these values and see what we get on this first one. So for instance, this is going to be equal to pi times the radius. So I'm going to put a set of parentheses, and the radius is 3 on this one, times L, which is our slant height, which in this case is 7. And so we'll just put this in the calculator right quick and see what it gets. So I'm going to go ahead, put my parentheses. Remember, if you want to put pi, you need to go ahead and hit the second button and then hit the caret key where the little pi symbol is on top of. That'll give us pi. And then I'm going to put parentheses, 3, close parentheses, parentheses, 7, close parentheses, close, and hit enter. And I'm going to write the value down. So we have 65.973. Now we do have to round. We're going to round to the tens place on this one. And in this case, the tens place is 9. The hundredths is 7. And remember, 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. So therefore, we got to raise this 9 to a 10. So this turns into a 0. Now that does affect the rest of this as well, because if this turns to a 10, that 1 carries over to the 5. And so we have 5 plus 1. That turns it into a 6. And then we bring down our 6. And we're talking about surface area here, and this is in inches. So this would be 66.0 inches squared. And that's going to be our LSA, our lateral surface area. So that's how much labeling it would take to cover the shaded part of the cone. And our slant height was 7. So now let's do the same to this second one over here to the right, because it's going to be slightly different because they don't give us the radius, but they give us the diameter. So there's one extra step we need to follow. So on this one, in order to get the radius, we're going to go ahead and take that value of 4, and we're going to divide it by 2. And that's going to give me my radius, which in this case is going to be 2. And then my slant height, bottom of my cone to the base, is going to be 9. So we'll go ahead and use our formula now for LSA. And that's going to be equal to pi times r times L. So this will be pi. Replace the r with a set of parentheses. And replace the L with a set of parentheses. And I'm going to put my values in. We have 2 for the radius, and we have 9 for the slant height. And let's see what we get when we put it in the calculator. So I'm going to put pi times 2 times 9. And it gives me 56.548. I'll write that down. And notice this is in centimeters, so this will be in centimeters squared. But before we do that, let's go ahead and round it. Notice this is the tens place. We have a 5. In our hundredths, we have a 4. So 4 or less, let it rest. So when we approximate this, our lateral surface area is going to be equal to 56.5 centimeters squared. Now let's go ahead and find the total surface area on both of these shapes. Now when you're asked to find the total surface area, I do recommend that you do not round. If you already had found the lateral surface area for it, do not use that rounded value. Go ahead and just re-type everything into the calculator to make sure that you don't do rounding into the very final step. So I'm going to go ahead and write this out. So TSA is equal to pi times the radius, which our radius was 3 for the shape, times the slant height, which was 7, plus pi times the radius, which is 3, and it's squared. So now we just put that into the calculator. And so we'll put in pi times the radius, which is 3, times the slant height, which is 7, plus parenthesis, and pi again, times the radius, which is 3, squared. And we get 94.247. I'm going to write that down real quick. So our TSA is equal to 94.247. And then we got to look and see, do we need to round it? And notice this is 4 or less, and write 4 or less, let it rest. So our final answer for the total surface area is 94.2 inches squared. So to go ahead and find the total surface area of example number 2 on the right, I'm going to go to write my formula. TSA is equal to pi times the radius times the slant height plus pi times the radius squared. And this pi radius squared just represents the circular portion on top, and the pi times the radius times the slant height represents the lateral surface area on the bottom. So we're adding them together so we get the total surface area. So let me go ahead and write that. So this is going to be equal to pi times r times L plus pi times our radius squared. And I'm just going to substitute the values. Notice our values didn't change any, right? We still have a radius of 2. I'm going to replace where the r is with the 2. This r is going to get replaced with the 2. And our slant height was 9, the L. So L is going to be 9. And now we're just going to go ahead and put it in a calculator and see what we get. So I'm going to go ahead and put pi times 2, my radius, times 9, my slant height, plus pi r squared. So pi times the radius 2 squared. And that's going to give me 69.115. Now we are going to go ahead and round this. So let's see, there's our tens place, there's our hundreds. So 4 or less, let it rest. Therefore our final answer, our total surface area for this shape, is simply going to be 69.1 centimeters squared.